Welcome to Crawlspace. I'm Tim here today with Lance in the Crawlspace studios in Wormtown. Lance, how are you today?
I am doing very well. Couldn't be better. How are you today?
I'm doing well. And Lance, for this episode, we have an interview with Terrie Boisseau. And Terrie is Sheila Shepherd's aunt. And we have been doing this series on the unsolved murder of Sheila Shepherd. This would be episode 4 in our series. Of course, Sheila Shepherd was murdered in Saratoga Springs in 1980.
Yeah, and Terrie Boisseau is, like you said, she's Sheila's aunt, but as we spoke to her, we came to realize that she was more like a sister to Sheila. They were similar in age. Terrie was just a little bit older than her, but they were close enough where they could go out and they could, enjoy each other's company. And Terrie worked with Sheila, I don't want to say so much to get Sheila's life on track, but Sheila was young, she had a child, and she wanted to make sure that everything was in line to provide for her child, and I think Terrie helped out with that. And the tragedy is that Terrie was present at the house when her husband discovered Sheila's body, when he had to climb through the window, and then he came down to let them know that they needed to call the police. And it's really affected Terrie to this day. She seems really haunted by it, and she seems really, adamant on certain suspects and her theories.
Yeah, it's a wide-ranging interview. We start off with some background, and we do discuss the day that Sheila's body was found. And as you said, you can definitely tell it affects her. Obviously, It affected her marriage, and so Terrie's very open, and she's a wonderful person. Really, kind of reminded me of like an aunt or something like that, like one of my aunts. Just really warm and lovely, and she misses her niece.
Yeah.
And it's tragic. And so this interview takes place at a restaurant in Saratoga Springs.
And it was really cool to sit down with Terrie and the two investigators who have picked up the case. We have investigator Callahan and his partner Matt Wilson, and they've been working with Terrie since they started doing this, since they picked up the Sheila Shepherd baton and started to run with it. And they work so well together, and it was so cool to see them have exchanges. A couple of times it wasn't like Terrie really agreed with them, but she certainly wasn't confrontational. She would listen to them, and they would listen to her, which was really cool.
Yeah, it's great. So we're all there at lunch at this restaurant, so you may hear some restaurant noises in the background. But we do discuss a suspect at one point who Terrie considers the most likely, and a couple of things come up that we discuss in later episodes that may kind of be clues, and we're not really quite sure. What do you think, Lance?
Well, I think you and I have talked about this, and we don't want to come across as impulsive on this, and we don't want to make it seem like we're overreacting. We actually want to make sure that we're not overreacting, which is why we're doing this. And it kind of sounds like a tease, but we really would like the listeners to listen and let us know if you hear the same details that we heard that we thought might be connected to directly connected to the murder. There are a couple of circumstances that come up, and immediately you and I were thinking, well, this could possibly have something to do with it. This could be some sort of connection. And it was really hard to gauge because they're good investigators, Chris and Matt. It was hard to gauge, they'll never come out and say, oh my God, you're right. Oh, wow, we never saw that. There's a couple of times where they appeared sort of interested in what we were talking about, but we didn't get a good gauge on whether or not we were overreacting about these details, which is why we're presenting it as sort of a tease. We'd like you to listen to it and figure out if you're hearing the same thing that we heard.
And Lance, this episode is a different style than the last 2 episodes in this series. The last 2 episodes, we kind of played some clips and then, introduced the clip beforehand. This is a straight interview, but at some point in this series, we are going to have to talk about it, talk it out, because so far what we've played is just our conversations from our trip to Saratoga Springs. So if you have any thoughts on the case, please email them to crawlspacepodcast@gmail.com. And if you have any information, please call 518-584-8477.
And to reiterate, that's Chris Callahan from the Saratoga Springs Police Department. He is a current investigator along with his partner, Matt Wilson. And I think people are catching on that this is going to be a deep dive, Tim. We're on episode 4. And from the trip that we took to Saratoga Springs, New York, I would say we have at least a couple more episodes on this case.
That's correct. And this is part 1 of this conversation with Terrie here at the restaurant. Part 2 will be next. And we also visit Sheila's grave with Terrie in the next episode. And then we'll talk to a retired investigator, Tom Mitchell, about the case as well. And then, Lance, we're going to do some follow-ups with people like Lee Meller and people who could help us unpack this case.
Yeah, as we've been looking into this case and other cases and just, being a part of this community, we see that there's so many people out there that can give us some really good insight, especially if you're not directly involved in it. We keep saying, you get that 30,000 foot view of something. And if you have the backup knowledge like someone, like Lee Meller or even our buddies at LA Not So Confidential, you can really pick people's brains and some of the listeners too, right? So contribute to this because it seems like a very solvable case.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody, and we hope you enjoy the interview with Terrie.
Sheila was, she was 10 months old when I met her, and I was 10, so there's 10 years between us, so we were very close. They lived right around the corner from where my parents were. She was just kind of a laid-back kid.
In Saratoga?
Yeah, in Saratoga. They lived on Beacon Street, but I left and went to Colorado in 80. She ended up there, and no, in 70 I went. She ended up there at 15. She was going to come out for a little visit.
And she stayed?
No, we got her into school. She just wanted to come for a little visit and ended up staying for a while. But then she came back here and moved to Germany with Shep. But she was just, she was laid back. She wouldn't have hurt anybody.
What brought you to Colorado?
I was searching for myself.
Ah, okay. That's a good place
I'm still looking.
Good place to start.
But, she kind of followed me around because we were close. I don't know if it was the best place for her to be, but then she got married. They moved to California. I got a phone call. I'm not happy. Can I come? So she was 20. Mm-hmm. She was sweet. Just never hurt anybody.
Why did you say that Colorado might not have been the best place for her?
Well, because we were partying a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
How long did she stay with you in Colorado?
The first time she stayed maybe 8 months. She was going to 9th grade. We went and talked to the principal. He said, I've seen a lot of Sheila Van Ness's. We're not going to charge her for this semester because she's going to go back home.
Oh.
She did, but she just was sweet. I don't know how else to describe her. She wouldn't hurt anybody. And then she had her little baby, and she had some issues, but it doesn't mean she deserved this.
Did she get married in California? Or
No, she got married here.
She got married here.
His parents owned Whispering Pines campgrounds. So they had Sheila's baby. And Sheila came back here, was going to Worldwide. She wanted to get her baby back. She wanted to, but she had problems,
But I mean, anything more unusual than a regular 22-year-old adolescent has,
Yeah, right.
I think about when I was 22. It's like we have this conversation a lot.
Especially when you get married at 17.
And you have a child.
You have a child by the time you're 18.
Yeah.
She was young.
Yeah.
She's just.
We're not talking about a career criminal. We're talking about someone who thought they fell in love, had a child, marriage before 25.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot to deal with.
It's a lot to deal with.
Your brain's not even fully developed. You don't.
So she stayed that time for a couple of years till she was 22. She came back here, phone rang. It was her mother. Why don't you come and visit? She comes out. She goes, oh, they want me to visit. And I'm like, well, go ahead. So she was only coming for a visit. So I moved back because she was here. So I was here. She told me I'm not going out with anybody. I'm just trying to get my life together. There's no one in my life.
She, as far as, a relationship?
Yeah.
That's what she told me.
Yeah.
Told you in November of 1980?
November. I was here
Really?
10 days, and she was murdered. So I didn't really have an opportunity to hang out with her at all.
What was the, the genesis of that conversation, if you remember? Did you ask her? Do you
Yeah.
have somebody that you're dating here?
Yeah, she said, well, she kind of offered the information.
Oh, she did? Oh, okay.
Because, I was a little protective.
Yeah, yeah.
She said, I'm not seeing anybody. I'm trying to get my life together. And, she was just really happy that I had moved back. Mm-hmm. And I still think today we would probably be living over there in the townhouse together.
Yeah.
Because we were that close. I had hoped that she could have gotten remarried or whatever.
Yeah. Did you know that she was doing the vocational school
Yes.
classes? Okay.
Yes.
And she must have immediately started that when she moved back. Mm-hmm. Or pretty close to it.
Pretty close to it.
Yeah. She seemed happy that she had made the decision to do that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was getting her life back together.
She was trying
going to school.
She was trying hard,
Yeah.
and that's who called us. Called Marcia was that one of the girls from Worldwide. Can't remember her name, but that doesn't matter. And said she hadn't been in school in 2 days. So,
Okay. Was that Monday and Tuesday?
Yeah. So we were heading over.
Was there anything your thought process that you were trying to connect? Had she said anything beforehand where it would have made sense why she had missed school for 2 days? Or were you thinking maybe she's sick and she just didn't call anybody?
I was thinking probably she was partying and would be okay,
Yeah, okay.
and she would turn back up. And in Colorado, when I sent her to beauty school. Now that I would say she deliberately did not go.
No, she didn't like it.
Well, I don't know if she didn't like it, but she didn't have time for that.
Gotcha.
So, just trying to get her life together all the time.
Yeah. I feel like people who recognize that they need to get their life together actually sort of have their life together. They realize that it might go off the rails if they continue that. I feel like people who actually don't have their life together don't realize it.
I was always kind of worried, I guess I'll say, If I couldn't find her, I'd call my sister Marcia. I'm like, I'm going to go look one more time. I'm going to go look one more time. She said, this is the 5th time you've said that. But she turned up.
You got a call from one of her classmates?
Marcia did. I went up there Saturday night, and I thought it was odd that her radio was on because she was paying for electricity, and I know how she thought. She wouldn't have done that. And then that was, I guess, Sunday night. And I almost sent him up the fire escape then.
Who, your husband at the time?
Yeah, that was a good way to start a marriage.
So you heard the radio on Sunday?
I heard the radio on,
Yeah.
and I came down and I was like, maybe you should go up the fire escape. And I said, no, I'm just being paranoid. So then...
What brought you there that early?
Just to say, hey.
Yeah.
I had dropped off she had a trunk. So I dropped that off, wanted to make sure she got that.
Like a clothing trunk?
Yeah, some of her stuff in it, all her pictures, which...
Yeah, we touched on earlier some of the family photos.
They did not. That's about the only thing that was missing. That and her keys, but I think you have the keys.
Yeah, we talked about that too.
Yeah.
The trunk that is missing is the one that you...
We brought her trunk on Wednesday, just put it outside the door because she was in school or somewhere. And then her pictures were in there. She loved showing pictures. This is my baby. This is Colorado. This is, this is my Aunt T.
How big was it?
It was big. No, it was a big trunk.
Oh.
It had clothes in it and
okay.
stuff she had left in Colorado.
But there was a smaller box of photos?
Yeah, there was a box of photos.
And that was what's missing now?
That was what's missing.
Okay.
So we don't have a lot of those pictures.
Did she mention anyone close to her at that point, or nothing? No.
Not here.
Yeah.
I mean, she went out,
Yeah.
but I guess when she was walking home, went by the Hub. It was a little local dive, and Saturday Night Live was on, and they said she was by herself, so she walked up to Church Street by herself.
She's probably done that numerous times.
Yeah.
So, going back to when you went to her apartment, was that Saturday or Sunday?
It was Sunday night.
Sunday night.
'Cause it was Saturday night that it happened. Saturday night, early Sunday morning. So that was Sunday night.
And you went there Sunday night, and you were there with your husband at the time.
Yeah, he stayed in the car, and I just ran up and knocked on the door. And then Marcia went there Monday, and she said the same thing to me. The radio was on, and I said, she's fine. Let's not be paranoid,
Mm-hmm.
But I know Mitchell went to Colorado. I knew it wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
But she was a good girl.
And you went back on Tuesday.
We went back on Tuesday. Marcia came over to my house and said, will you go with me? We'll go up the fire escape. And I said, okay. And then Chuck at the last minute said, wait a minute, you guys, let me go with you. Or it would have been me
Yeah.
going up
Yeah.
with Marcia behind me.
Yeah.
And Marcia's Sheila's mom.
Yeah. Today's her birthday.
Wow.
So, and she lived with them for a while when she got here, and she really wasn't doing anything bad,
So whose decision was it that your husband was to go up the fire escape and you?
Me.
Yeah, and you and Marcia stayed.
We stayed
in the
down.
car or on the
No,
sidewalk?
we were standing on the street.
Uh-huh.
And he went up and he kind of came back out and shook his head, and we said, go on in. We'll call an ambulance or something. I said, she's fine. And he went and unlocked the door and came down, and he said, you guys can't go up there.
He blocked the door.
He blocked us. The stairway was it's a pretty wide staircase. Have you been up in there?
No, there's somebody living in there now. We talked about that. I don't want to be the one to tell
No.
the current tenant
No.
what happened there.
You said that he unlocked the door?
Yeah.
The front door?
Yeah, it was locked.
Like the front door to the building?
No,
Not
to her apartment.
To her apartment.
To her apartment. I don't know what your opinion is, but she knew who it was.
I think so. I mean, it's pretty, commonly shared
Yeah.
belief. It's the way the place looked, and I know we had talked one time, and you're like, she's not one she's going to open a door for a stranger.
No, but
somebody in the hallway and say,
But like you said, she did leave the window open for her brother
right.
to go in and out.
In case he needed a place to stay for the night, or?
Well, it was just Jimmy. She took care of him
Yeah.
a lot of the time.
Yeah, we were also talking about just how it takes a little bit for us to reset our brains to 1980, and how leaving your window open for your brother is
It didn't matter. Nobody locked their doors here
Right,
back then.
right.
We lived right next door. I grew up at 131 Church Street. That was at 125. But my mother would give us keys, we'd lose them. So, it wasn't ever locked.
Do you know if other people in her social circle would have known that her window was left unlocked occasionally?
Probably.
Yeah.
But I think they just went right through. I think they were there. She may have left them there, gone out. And that was a thing she liked to do, to have a couple of drinks and then go out and see what's going on. But she didn't really go out. Well, she did go out with a couple of guys in Colorado, but nothing.
Who called the police?
We went downstairs and banged on this poor girl's door, and it told her to call
In the building?
in the building.
Did
Which
Sheila have a telephone in her apartment?
No. I don't think so. Not that I know of. See, I was only here 10 days, so I didn't have enough time to
Yeah.
really hang out with her or be there. But I know the girl downstairs said somebody was going up and down the fire escape for quite a while.
There was some friends that I know had used it, had heard about it before, because the classmates that we talked about that go on Monday and then again on Tuesday, they end up telling the teacher who calls Marcia. The one girl said she was going to go up the fire escape, but didn't because she was in a dress. So I mean, I take that to reason that she knew that was left open. So if she did, then who else does, or who else would have used that as a
probably
as an entrance
a
way.
lot of people knew, but my sister Paula went and talked to a channeler one time, and they said there's this blonde girl wants to talk. And
Like a psychic?
yeah.
Okay.
And Paula said, yeah, okay. She said, tell Aunt T that I'm okay now. So she goes, oh, she calls you her auntie. Paula just said, yeah, okay. Aunt T she was talking about. And tell Aunt T to keep her doors and windows locked. But, I don't know. I kind of felt some closure with that she was reaching out to say, don't worry, I'm okay now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a whole person.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know.
So you had one of the neighbors that was in the same building call the police?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long before they showed up, and what did you guys
Oh
do?
my God, minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes. The ambulance was there, the cop cars were there, and we went to get Jim. Her father was working at the hospital, so we went and got him, and he told us to get out of there. So Marcia we went and we would talk to her sponsor. And we just left. He said, you guys got to get out of here. And then Chuck stayed.
Your husband stayed?
Yeah. And you saw over and over again them on the news bringing her body out. It was just horrible.
They showed that on the news.
Yeah, recently too.
Mm-hmm. Did they do like anniversary, like commemorative?
We've done a lot of articles over the year.
Mm-hmm.
Usually a milestone like the 10-year one and
Yeah.
the 20-year one, and then there was the 30-year one, and Jimmy did one.
Who's Jim Jr.?
Sorry, Sheila's
Her
brother.
brother.
The one that died
sorry.
in the motorcycle accident near
Right.
where we were filming earlier.
Yeah.
You went to the motorcycle accident?
No,
No.
their hotel where they're staying now is right near the roundabouts
Oh,
there,
okay.
67.
Okay.
Yeah. We weren't aware that he had died in a motorcycle accident until this morning.
I was waiting for that call too.
Yeah.
You just knew it.
And he was pretty active in Sheila's case?
Well, no, he was in jail at the time
When she was killed.
when she was killed.
Yeah. Afterward, though, he
Yeah, he always thought that if he hadn't been in jail, he would have saved her, which is crazy. But
It's crazy, but it's understandable.
it's understandable.
Yeah.
And
How long had he been in jail at that point?
I don't think too long. He was only 17.
And that's
17.
and that's Sheila's only brother. That's the one that she left the window open for.
It's the one she left the window
Yeah.
open for. So he always felt kind of responsible for that. That she wouldn't have had that window left open if it wasn't for him. But
Did Chuck tell you anything afterward? Like, how did he describe it to you?
he didn't at first.
Mm-hmm.
But then it bothered him so much. He thought that she had been beat up because, your blood stops moving. But he just said her eyes. I'll never forget her eyes. And she was kind of covered up, but not really. And he had to climb over her
From the window.
from the window. So he did go get some counseling
Yeah.
for a little while, but the marriage was over.
The marriage was over. Was it before that, or
No, we had just gotten married in
Oh.
September and moved here, and then, Sheila was murdered, and it just it just didn't work.
after that? Wow.
Not because of that,
Yeah,
but it
just-
certainly didn't help.
Promotional issues, I'm sure.
Contributing factor
Yeah.
to it. Yeah. How many people have you considered have done this? Do you have like
Just one.
Got an ironclad alibi, though. I can't say who.
No, you can. Yeah, absolutely.
Her ex.
what's his alibi?
He was in Long Island. You know, I don't want to say too much because she has a daughter,
Yeah,
but she wants to know too.
of course.
My mother said, "I'll go to my grave knowing it was him." Go to my grave. He came to the house, didn't quite act quite right, but it was a shock. And then he came to the funeral home and he looked at her and he said, "I didn't think it'd be like this." And he said, "I'm going to go get some flowers." He left and never came back.
Wow.
So,
And you haven't seen him since?
no, he died.
Yeah.
And I never saw him after that, no.
The last time you saw him, he said he was going to go get flowers.
Yes.
And he never came back.
He never came back.
Wow. When did he die?
I don't know. He was
have
like 39.
1990.
Yeah. Mass coronary at 39.
He was 39 and he had a heart attack?
Yes.
Yeah, he was the one that we were talking about before the drops right at the like at the dinner table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, massive heart attack, and
Was he a significant alcoholic?
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
Yes.
the impression that we've gotten, definitely.
What? Who corroborates the alibi?
There were several people that were
Yeah.
talked to out in Patchogue, Long Island, which is the town that they were at, that the detectives at the time went out and talked to, and then Matt and I were just out there in December, went and talked to a lot of the same guys that had said that they were with him, in 1980 or talked to at the time, and they all gave us the same account, and they all pretty much said to a person, like, I'm not going to cover for a murder
Right.
then. I'm certainly not going to do it 40 years almost later when he's not even alive and
Yeah.
hasn't been for almost 30 years himself. So if somebody is covering, it's a very extensive, cover up, and he's in a bar that night in Saratoga, on Saturday night out there where there's a band playing, and they go and they talk to bartenders and people in the band. So it's not even just like his inner circle they talk to. There's all these different, people that are in the area. They're like, yeah, we definitely saw him, and he sat right here by the door, and
How long after were they interviewed?
within days.
Within days.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. I think that's like the first, understandably in this case, first one they key
Yeah,
in
you
on
would,
is.
you would
Yeah.
suspect.
So yeah, they were out there for, I want to say, a couple of days, and then had him come to Saratoga to be further interviewed, and they're out. There's a whole write-up in that case file about people they talked to trace his steps at the time that weekend.
But nobody remembered seeing Sheila out.
No, I mean in Long Island, right?
But that night,
Wait, say
Yeah.
that again?
no one remembered seeing Sheila out that night.
It's Saturday.
Yeah.
That was the one that we were telling these guys yesterday. A big part of the problem with the weekend is people's timeline is,
It's not-
I saw her, but was it Saturday night or was it Friday night? Or was it at the Golden Grill or was it at, at Sage's? So as soon as there's very little, definitive, somebody saying like, I saw her at
Desperate
this
Annie's,
time.
I think
at
she
this.
was at.
Yeah, and
They
talked
knew
to
what
the
she
bartender
drank,
there.
but they didn't know if she was there that night. But
So she could have been remembered if she went there on like Thursday or Friday, and then when the places, the management was talked to, maybe they were like, well, I guess it could have been Saturday. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, kind of. They couldn't. But Marcia saw her that afternoon,
That
Saturday,
afternoon,
she
after the
said,
Grand Union.
she said that she was going to go see me. She was going to come to my house that night. And I never saw her. And then there was some talk of a party or...
Right, from the downstairs neighbor. Thinks that she hears people upstairs.
But I don't think it was Sheila.
They never were able to track anyone down, though, either to say, if there was this party, if there was this get-together, they can't find anyone who was there, who says they
Right.
were there. So was there a party, or was it her and one other person that they hear, walking around? And
But she was in the hub one Saturday. Well, this is what I was told by the bartender. But she was in there, Saturday Night Live was on, and she was alone. And then walked home. And then when she went in, they heard a thump.
yeah, I'm not sure if that's just one of those tales that's come out after. Like,
Well, that was right from the beginning.
The downstairs neighbors?
Yeah.
They heard a thump or a
And
thud.
she said Saturday Night Live was on, but
I remember that somebody in the hub does say, "I'm watching Saturday Night Live at the bar," but I thought it was they see her walk. They think it's her walking by, not actually in the.
not she didn't go in.
And that's puts it in between 11:30 and 1 a.m.
Yeah.
That
Was she
would
walking
have
downtown or was she walking back?
walking back
Walking
home.
back.
And we had a pretty good neighbor witness that thinks that he sees her, he says it is her, he sees walking towards downtown. And that was like 9 p.m.-ish, and they were able to pin that down. The guy says, "I'm watching this movie at the car." It was like a made-for-TV movie or something. And then Tom Mitchell, the detective, he goes, "Yeah, I remember the time, 'cause I was watching it too. I was home before I got, called in for whatever, not this, but something else." So that was like between 8 and 10 that she'd be walking towards the bar district, and then sometime between 11:30 and 1, walking back towards the apartment.
It wouldn't be unusual for her to go out by herself.